Welcome to the Opinionated Benchwarmers Podcast, episode 170. Your Opinionated Benchwarmers are back to do what we do best, and that's discuss sports. Of course, I got both of my brothers in here today, Carlos and Ramon. How you guys feeling today? How was y'all day? Are y'all ready for the holiday? What's up, man?
Good, man. I mean, it's been an eventful last week since we last recorded. A lot has happened, and I'm ready to cover it. I'm ready to jump into it. Like my
It's
guy
not a
Ramon,
lot.
but a lot has kind of happened. Remember the trade, Miles Bridges trade kind of went down right after we recorded. So, and then a bunch of other little trades happened. So a lot kind of happened between now, the draft, free agents, pickups, a lot has happened. But like my guy Ramon say, I'm not gonna hold it too long.
How you gonna take that man saying? How you know they want to use it today?
We
Yeah,
had to
not what
come
I'm
up
gonna
with
say
something new
now.
today.
But like you said, man, it's been a lot that's been going on. I saw some people on the pod hanging out with Chris Paul and things of that sort. But I guess I ain't want to name drop to the people on the pod,
Shout out to
anything like
Chris, man. Shout out to
that.
Chris.
The CP3. Probably had some breaking news before, it went public or something like that. I don't know if
Yeah,
y'all
he
had
was
the
in there
inside scoop.
celebrating, huh? Yeah, he was in there celebrating, going to San Antonio.
Right, but it's been good, man. It's been good. I'm gonna just throw it back over to Rob because I'm not gonna. All right, I'm gonna just throw it over to Rob.
Yo, man, appreciate all the love and support. Make sure that you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. We are over 2,000 subscriptions, so join the bandwagon before it's full. But we appreciate all of the new listeners. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the audio. We appreciate that. And then also shout out to our day ones that's been with us since the beginning. And shout out to you and thank you for rocking with us. Make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast as well on anywhere where you like to listen to your podcast at, which is Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. My bad, Ramon. He's a big Google guy.
Well, it didn't switched up, man. Now it's actually
Oh,
through YouTube Music,
oh,
not like it's
oh,
through YouTube. Yeah,
Oh, YouTube Music,
yeah.
he got a droid, so he keeping us updated on all the good, YouTube. We don't exclude anybody, but I'm sure you can find us wherever you like to listen to your podcast. And now that I have this out of the way, I just want to start off by giving some context to what Ramon said. Of course, we was in Vegas, me and Los was, and we saw CP3. Well, he did. He saw CP3. You know what I'm saying? It was a great experience. Most likely that was right after the news of him going to San Antonio. So you know what he was celebrating up there with Trevor Ariza. Los, man, what's up? How was the experience?
Man, what an experience, man. Being able to see Chris Paul, to be able to see him dap him up, and see him partying and coming out to Lil Wayne's first I can never say that word, guys.
Residency.
Residency, thank you. So seeing him do that and seeing him, party and dance and celebrate Lil Wayne, and it's kind of surreal to see because I've seen certain people, pointing, like, you can kind of always tell when the stars in the room because just kind of how the crowd reacts. And I looked in that direction. He was literally walking towards me. So he was fist bumping a couple guys coming through, and I kind of threw my hand out and he just kind of dapped me up and brought it in. So I was like, oh, Chris Paul has that normal, a-holeness to him. You just kind of watch him on the
Man,
court and
just
stuff.
feeling,
So
why this man gotta catch a straight, man? Man
no,
showed
no,
you
no.
man
I mean,
love.
it's publicly known. Like, he don't mess around. He kind of had that Kobe mindset when it comes to certain things. He like things a certain way, but to see him in that aspect and see him cool like that, it was pretty cool. Him and Trevor Ariza. Trevor Ariza is a guy that obviously played a long time for the Lakers and actually won a champion. If I'm correct, won a championship with the Lakers. Did he? No.
Yeah, he did. He was a
Yeah,
big part of
yeah.
that
Oh
'09
nine,
run.
oh
Yeah,
nine.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, oh nine. Okay, I remember him leaving. Then Meta World Peace came in. So, but yeah, so it was kind of cool to see that, and had a good time, and the stars are out, man. The stars are definitely out.
Yeah, definitely a great time, man. But as Lo said earlier, man, we got some big news to get into, right? We got the NBA draft that took place last week. Really nothing to see there. Obviously, we'll cover the big news that's going on with the draft, and then we have NBA free agency, and of course, we can't let this pod go out without talking about how our Lakers performed within the draft and the moves or lack of moves that's been made so far with the Lakers, but. We'll jump right into it, man. A draft, okay, it's no secret, right? Bronny is the news, and as we watched it unfold, we pretty much knew he was going to the Lakers probably like 2 or 3 months ago. But like we always say that, LeBron is a powerful man, and what LeBron wants, LeBron gets. And it started even a year ago, or maybe a year and a half ago, where LeBron was like, "Hey, I want to play with my son." So you just watch the interesting turn with all of the NBA teams kind of positioning themselves to get Bronny, and then we get the news in the second round. Once the second round started, that at a certain point, that his agent, I can't think of his name,
Rich Paul.
Rich Paul, was making calls telling teams not to draft him, or Bronny would be going to Australia. Whether that's true or not, that's what the report was. And then the Lakers end up taking him as we expected with the 55 pick in the second round. Bronny James obviously was introduced to the Lakers and the organization, him and Dalton Knecht. And, of course, that happened today. So it's all but official, but Bronny still has yet to sign a contract to make it legally binding. But guys, react, man. 55 pick, Bronny James, and then you can even slide into Dalton Knecht, which was our 15th pick. 14th pick or 15th?
17th.
17th. Ooh, I was off.
Yes. 17th pick. No, the Bronny James news, I think it's first of all, the Lakers stole the draft, from day one, getting a complete steal with the 17th pick. And then you got obviously Bronny James, who I've never seen a pick that was projected in the second round get nailed, obviously with the obvious things that was going on around that name. So it was good to see that. And it was good to see this, I mean, from a standpoint of him getting under the wings of the Lakers development. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and I think that honestly, there was a lot of talk, surrounding it, a lot of the nepotism talk and all that kind of stuff, and people coming kind of with all this negativity surrounding it. But one of the biggest things for me is that throughout the entire process, man, to me, Bronny has carried himself as a class act. Like he is completely, to me, represented humility throughout the process. Never has been that type of guy that has carried himself as if he was owed anything or that that this was just guaranteed for him or was going to be handed to him. So for me, throughout the process, man, I just really appreciated Bronny's like humility throughout it. I think that Bronny is an NBA player. Of course, as Los alluded to, there's going to be some development that's needed there. So he needs to go through the proper process to get developed. I think they did say they haven't, of course, announced the full details, but he does plan to sign a multi-year guaranteed rookie contract. Is what came out a little bit earlier on today. So obviously he's going to be locked in. And I think that, man, ultimately it's a cool story. We've heard this be floated for some years for now, and we've kind of anticipated that this would happen and that we would see it happen. And now to see it come to fruition, it takes you thinking about from a baseball standpoint with the Griffeys, being able to do something similar. We haven't seen this from an NBA standpoint. So it's just another thing, another historical thing. And my main thing is just to see now how Bronny takes it, gets in, develops his game, works into a rotation type player. So that's going to be the interesting thing for me.
Yeah, I think y'all covered it all. I mean, nothing more than the interest of how LeBron continues to control things in the league and then hide his hand. I guess he's going to do this till the end, where he's controlled narratives. It was not a secret that he wanted to play with his son, and I don't think that ever changed. And he found a way to get it done. I have nothing much more to add there. I think from what I've seen with Brian working out and everything, I think that it is a project. He's not going to be successful right away. I think it's going to take time. And I think that, traditionally as Lakers fans, we don't have all of the patience in the world for players. But, if I was to make a prediction in the future, I don't feel like he's going to bud until LeBron retires and until he doesn't play for the Lakers anymore. So unfortunately to say, I do wish him the best because I do agree with everything Ramon said about his humility, which can make him easy to root for, especially being in his situation and the way that it happened, the way he's been handling it and in his press conferences and everything like that has been nothing short of pretty impressive for a guy his age. So I wish him all the best, but I obviously, I think that this is more so of a thing. That's a cool story for LeBron to say that he played with his son, kind of like Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr., just repeating that. So, yeah, so that's all I had to add to it. I am excited about our 17th pick, Dalton Knecht. No secret. He was no secret to putting the ball in the hole with Tennessee. He was a scorer, and, he performed very well. Was a fan of his game in college, and I think that he he's something that the Lakers definitely could use. Oftentimes we find ourselves in half court sets, and if it wasn't LeBron or AD creating a shot, or if Russ is not on fire, we had a tough time scoring. So I mean, I think that adding scoring was smart, and I think that you know that's a guy that probably could make an impact immediately. It's surprising to say at a 17 pick you can find somebody like that, but I'm a huge fan of that pick, and I think that if anytime you can add shooting to this team, you've done something.
Yeah, I think he was the perfect pick, especially with the coach that we have in JJ Redick, right? You bring in JJ Redick, and during his press conference, he mentioned that he wants to add more shooting more 3-pointers. The roster doesn't reflect that now, but definitely the pick reflects that. And today during their press conference, the introductory press conference, they mentioned that he was probably the best off the dribble shooter in this draft, and to get that and for JJ Redick, who made a career off making threes, and to draw up some plays. I think Rob Pelinka joked about JJ Redick already drawing up some plays for him. And then he's a mature rookie. That's the thing that's not I think that's part of why he dropped, but that's good for the Lakers. The Lakers need players that can play now. They don't need players that can develop and sit, especially in this window with AD and LeBron. So he's a 23-year-old rookie, which again is great. And then not only this guy can shoot, I was watching his highlights just kind of through the internet. He can get up. He has some bounce to him too, and then some swag to him. So I like the guy a lot. I like the pick a lot. As it was going on in the draft and I was doing my research early, I was like, man, I don't know if he's gonna be there in the 17th pick, but I would love to have Dalton Knecht there. And then sure enough, he fell to us. So I was ecstatic about that pick for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you look at a guy that was really projected to be a top 10 pick. He was projected to be a consensus lottery pick, but pretty much, most mock drafts had him as a top 10 pick. As Los was kind of mentioning, the JJ Redick connection is there too, because they talked about that Dalton Connect throughout college. Honestly, JJ Redick was one of the players that he watched. Like that was part of his film study, was to study how JJ Redick navigated screens, moved around to be able to play off ball. And so that's something that really the Lakers have not had in recent years. A guy that's really productive, coming off screens, catching and shooting, coming off, curls, different things of that sort. You haven't really had that guy. You maybe had Malik Beasley that was supposed to be that guy, but he couldn't be that for the Lakers. And besides that, you have more guys that have been kind of spot up shooters here or there, but not necessarily somebody that's, making defenders chase them around, different things of that sort. And so I think that it was such, a bargain for the Lakers. I was glad that they didn't overthink it to me in this draft, because we had kind of a similar situation last draft with Cam Whitmore that fell down. And we were all looking like, okay, grab that guy. He is falling. I don't care what the concerns are. He is going to be, a heck of a pick at that spot. And the Lakers didn't make that pick. They passed on Cam Whitmore, and really, just through one season, it's shown to probably not be the best move. But this time around, they didn't do that again with Dalton Knecht. They saw that value fall, and they went ahead and took that. And so I thought it was a heck of a draft pick, and it definitely was a home run, and definitely interested to see what JJ Redick's going to do with him.
Yeah, no, I'll just say real quickly that I pray that JJ Redick on this subject, same subject, does not do like Darvin Ham and afraid to play his young players and afraid, we know the Max Christie extension just happened, right? That's signs that he's going to obviously play, right? Then you obviously just drafted an older rookie. I'm hoping that he lets them learn through this, get them some minutes, and so that way we can start growing this young core. And I know that's what they mentioned. So I'm interested to see his philosophy on playing young players.
Well, you got the Los Angeles Lakers. They'll start on their summer league circuit this Saturday, in which you probably could expect to see a lot of Bron and Connect. They did say that JJ will not coach; he will advise. He's still trying to figure out his staffing, his coaching staff, and fill out his staff. So, our G League South Bay Lakers head coach is going to coach throughout summer league. So that should be interesting to see. I'm excited to see Bronny. I think that summer league again, it hadn't had this buzz since Zion. Maybe, you had some big names come through. But you could expect that arena to be. I would expect to be every Laker game to be packed out to see Bronny and what he's going to be. I'm excited to see it. maybe we'll get that 2000 like we did in 2017 when Ball, Lonzo, and all those won Summer League championships. We had some a little excited to a little something to be excited for prior to the season. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. But we know why we're here. The listeners know why we're here. If you're watching us, you know why we're here. Obviously, we're here to dissect the NBA free agency, which is probably one of the more exciting times of the year in the NBA season. I want to mix it up, fellas. I know we do always do a roundtable, and we still keep it in that format, but I wanted to discuss it in a different way. So I'm going to structure it in this way, right? We're going to give grades. Each of us is going to go down the line and give grades of each free agency move and why and what implications of the future. However you want to frame it, just make sure that you have a grade and a reason behind that grade. And if you're listening, I always like to throw them for a loop. So they didn't know that that was coming. It wasn't no pre-production, but we'll start off with the biggest one of the year. 35-year-old Paul George signs a $212 million contract, 4 years with the Philadelphia 76ers. If you are familiar and kept up with the playoffs, which I think that you would if you're covering free agency, that Joel Embiid and Paul George were both on the set of ESPN for their pregame show, and Embiid gave a wink, trying to, kind of in a way recruit Paul George, and it has finally come into fruition. It's a twofold story because the I think what will be a 30 for 30 somewhere down the line is probably the failure of the Clippers and what they did and how big of a deal it was when they initially signed him and him and Kawhi to huge deals, expecting them to be the future and the cornerstone of the franchise. And here you are, the first piece of that foundation is going elsewhere. But I just want to go, like I said, give a grade on what the 76ers have done and how you feel about it and why did you grade it that way?
Yeah, I'll just say I'll give them an A+. Just because they didn't just sign Paul George. They drafted Andre Drummond, Eric Gordon. They got Kelly Oubre back. They obviously signed their star restricted free agent and Tyrese Maxey. And then you add Paul George into that. They are a team right now that you can probably say are in that top two, top three behind Boston. Because right now I look at the Milwaukee Bucks as a team that probably took a step back, depending on what happened with Malik Beasley right now. And I'll put right now the Sixers as a top two team in the East, depending obviously on health, right? That's always the thing. Depending on health, I'll put them as a top two things because I like what they did on the outside of just signing Paul George.
Yeah. So yeah, from an overall sense, connected with that as well too, I probably would say an A. If I look at the Paul George move exclusively, of him coming over to Philly, I probably give him an A- on the Paul George move. I think that it's a heck of a pickup. Obviously, like you said, it puts them into contention over there in the East. Obviously, we know that Boston is still that juggernaut that's over there, but you add a talented two-way wing in Paul George, that now gives them that dynamic trio that you already alluded to and mentioned. Paul George, we know what he is. We know what he can do on the offensive side of the ball. Still is a guy that's going to give you 25 plus. We know that he still is a plus defender at this point in his career. And, they just happen to be one of those teams that could be a contender that had that cap space to go and get a max guy. So it worked out perfectly all the way across the board. The only reason why it's just an A- and not an A for me or an A+ as it relates to Paul George is simply just because of the age. I'm not saying that he's old or anything of that sort, but if this were 30-year-old Paul George, maybe I would look at it a little bit differently. But that's the only reason of a minus instead of just a regular A.
Yeah, I give the 76 an A. I think that they finally get what they needed. They got a two-way player that's still playing at a very high level, still scoring at a high level, an extremely skilled person that can take some even more pressure off Embiid. Not that it matters. He averaged just if he didn't average 30, just short of 30 this past season, and was well on his way to winning NBA MVP if it wasn't for the injury. So I mean, I think you add a guy that can score, and I think that he fits well with dang it.
Talking about
What's
Tyrese
that?
Maxey.
Yeah, Tyrese Maxey. I drew a blank. With Tyrese Maxey, I think he fits a little better with Tyrese
Man, you're starting to
Maxey.
look like our president, man, but it's neither here nor there.
Whoa.
But you know, Tyrese Maxey, is a player that doesn't necessarily need the ball in his hand a lot, like James did. So I think that you get a guy that can play off that and had that 20 point, you're looking at guys that each can average 20 plus points a game. And I don't think it's going to take much sacrifice from Embiid and Maxey. I think they're welcoming it. Somebody that can give them some help when they're not on the floor. So I like the move. I would give it an A. I'm not an A plus guy. I am concerned about the age thing, but I give it an A because I think that he still has a good 2-3 years left. So
Yeah, I would say the only other factor to consider there too for Paul George specifically is health.
yeah, definitely 100%, 100%. But end of an era, man. But as we move on, another big signing we got KCP to the Magic. He signed a 3-year, $66 million contract. Um, Take it away.
Yeah, no, I think I love it. I love the move for Magic for obvious reasons. There's nothing to do with the Magic, absolutely nothing to do with the Magic. But I love that Denver Nuggets are getting picked apart right now. Last year was Bruce Brown. This year is KCP. I don't know how many. I started to make this a Laker podcast, but it's in my bones. All right. I don't know how many times KCP has ruined and made these small little plays to actually win the game or turn the momentum or hit a crucial three. So that was a huge piece. I'm glad he got the bag. I'll give the Magic. I'll give the Magic definitely a B plus on that. Because again, you get a solid player that the last two places he went, he won a championship, right? From the Lakers to Denver to now, the young and up and coming Magic Orlando. So the Magic getting looks for from solid free agents that just speaks to where they're at with their franchise.
Yeah, I'm close to those lines as well too. I probably was gonna give this signing a B. I think that it's definitely a good pickup for the Magic. The main thing for me is that KCP brings a veteran presence that helps to settle them. Obviously we saw that they were able to make the playoffs this time around. Really young core came to a game 7 in that first round matchup, but I think KCP is that veteran presence. That one that, as you alluded to already, Lowe's has championship experience. That's going to be a lot for those young guys in that locker room.
Maybe look at it the fact that they could be potentially losing Markel Fultz. So I think that this is an upgrade if you're looking at that. So I give it a B plus. I do like the veteran pedigree that KCP brings. But also this may be an opportunity for KCP to say, hey, this is somewhat my team. We know that this is Powell's team, but Banchero's team. But obviously, KCP has to be like number one and number two. Maybe he's looking at this as like this is his Drew Holiday situation in Boston. He's gonna have a very, very pivotal role. And like Lo said, they made the playoffs this past year, and they're looking to build upon it. I would expect Blanchard to take another step forward. I think he's a guy that I've been impressed with so far in his career, in his development. So, I mean, you gotta love it, KCP. He always have a special place in our hearts because he was a part of that championship team in 2020. But yeah, shout out to him and getting the bag, you know what I'm saying? So next one we got next one I disrespected Klay. I mean, Klay agreed to a $50 million contract with the Mavericks. This was broke probably like a couple days ago, 3-year $50 million deal. Guys, react to that.
No, I would just say it was probably the best match for him. Honestly, if I take my Lakers hat off, which I wear probably it's probably stitched to my head. But if I take that off, unstitch it, it was probably the best fit for him, just squarely off what exactly the Mavs do, right? They drive and kick, right? And they do that as the best, probably the best team, they have the two best players that can break you down at the top, right? And so you telling me some of those threes that Derrick Jones was shooting and missing in the finals are now Klay Thompson getting wide open threes because you're gonna have to pick your poison. We know Luka can get to his spot and get to whatever he wants to pretty much on the floor. And if you're not gonna double and break down, he's gonna get an easy bucket, right? And so if you come down double, now you have Klay standing out there instead of Derrick Jones standing out there. And so I love it from a match standpoint. I'm upset that he didn't choose the Lakers. I wish it was the Lakers. We did offer him more money in more years, but even his dad was pushing for him to do that. Those reports that came out, and he was disappointed too. So that part sucks. But if I again taking my hat off, I think he did it. He picked the right team. I think he is going to do well with that team, and it was a perfect fit. And so I will give it another B plus on that one.
Yeah, and kind of, I guess, chiming in on the early part of it, as you mentioned, kind of the Lakers angle. I think one thing that isn't talked about enough too is that ultimately for that 4 years and 80 million to happen, there was going to have to be a sign and trade that was agreed upon. And it was stated that basically the Warriors were not interested in D'Lo in a sign and trade. So, the Lakers would have had to do additional work in order to make that work for Klay. So I think that we'll never totally or completely know who Klay's number one decision was. Like, we won't fully know if it really was the Mavs or it was just honestly about the Lakers potentially taking too much time to be able to clear that space to then give Klay that contract. As it relates to him, going to Dallas, I agree with Lowe's. I give it a B plus. I think that, at this point, obviously it's going to be a lot of open looks that are there for Klay. I think the one thing that you got to acknowledge is that it still isn't prime Klay Thompson anymore. If this were prime Klay Thompson, first of all, he wouldn't be on the market, but this would have been an A plus type of grade. It drops it to that B plus range, just because he doesn't have that same lateral quickness he used to have, isn't quite that same defender that he used to be. But obviously he still can shoot it, and he's gonna get open looks because of the gravity of Luka and Kyrie that's already been mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I give it a B. I think Dallas, when you have the opportunity to get probably one of the greatest shooters to ever shoot the ball, you got to go get him. Part of the Splash Brothers. I think that he'll be afforded a lot of opportunities, a lot of corner threes due to Luca, and Luca has made a lot of good people look good. But you don't have to make Klay look much better. Like you said, Roman, he's not what he once was, and I think that that would be probably a problem. But I think that shooting wise, I think that that's what he brings, and I think he's going to be a good addition to the Mavs, who made it to the conference finals, but I mean, who made it to the NBA Finals but fell short. So maybe this is a piece that could get them over the hump. So you're getting the third player that can score on their own, outside of Kyrie and Luka, obviously. So the next signing we'll go through is your boy CP3 signed an $11 million deal with the Spurs. I thought it was very interesting there.
Yeah, I would just say I think it's a great match for the personality of a CP3. He gets to come in and be that mentor role, right? I don't know if the expectation is championship right now, but he at least gets to go there and play with a younger team and kind of be that coach on the floor. And I know he probably enjoys that role more than trying to be on the Warriors team, being the sixth guy, kind of falling back. So I think he is okay with this role and okay with not winning the championship. And that's just, it's very evident with this decision.
Yeah, I guess in chiming into it, I probably would give it a C plus grade for the move. Honestly, at this point, like you said, it's a mentorship type of move. And I think that he's gonna be good for Wemby. Think about the pick and rolls and everything like that with Wemby. Think about the lobs. CB3 can still throw a lob. And with Wemby, that's endless reach right there. So I think that ultimately more of it will probably be felt, as you were alluding to, off the court, and just what CP3 brings from a knowledge standpoint, from a mentorship standpoint. But I'll probably grade it out as a C plus, maybe fringe B minus.
I give it an A. I like the move a lot. I think that Chris Paul has thrown a niche throughout his career to be some sort of a mercenary. He did it with the Thunder in Oklahoma when Shea was young and playing with a guy that's frequented the Lakers twice. I can't think of his name right now. I'm drawing a blank, but um, he played with Atlanta too. Atlanta, Oklahoma, and now he did two stint with us. He went to Toronto.
You talking about Dennis Schroeder?
Yeah, Dennis Schroeder. But you saw that was a Thunder team. If we recall back then that, what is that, 2020? Well, we didn't expect them to be in the playoffs, and they was actually competing in the playoffs. And a big piece of that was Chris Paul and his mentorship. So I think that the Spurs have an opportunity to get somebody that can show them how to win, even though he doesn't have a chip. He comes with a wealth of a knowledge and a wealth of experience in the point guard position. But I think if you're building your cornerstone on Victor, then you bring a guy like this that can show him how to play, and hopefully Victor can. I know he will benefit from it a lot. So I give it an A. I give it an A. I think I creeped the grade up a little bit because I just love it that much. But I think
You still
lastly,
CP3 fan at heart, bro. You still
I am,
CP3 fan
I
at
am,
heart.
I am, bro. So the last thing I will touch on, I think the most was surprising to me was Tobias Harris to the Pistons. What grade would you get at? Or is it worth our time grading the Pistons and what they
The Pistons is throwing out money, man. I don't know. I mean, obviously, Tobias Harris has connections with them and played for them before. But when they offered him that bag, of course, I don't know if anybody else was offering that bag. They have to, we said it on previous podcasts, they have to overpay to get free agents to come over there or coaches. So I'll give it a nice little D plus if we grading it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, I probably would throw it kind of similar to that CP3 range that I threw, probably that C plus, B minus kind of area. That they had to try to go and get somebody who's really going to sign up to go to Detroit. So ultimately, it's a move that maybe once again too he provides some type of veteran leadership within that locker room, but
yeah.
nothing that's going to draw waves or something.
I give it a D. I mean, it's nothing that the Detroit could do to make their roster better. I mean, they overpaid Cunningham. I don't think he earned that max deal other than how long he's been with them. He hasn't shown much progress in his development. Detroit is a mess. I don't want to talk about them. They don't know what they're doing in the front office. But the last one and the huge one, and we'll do it quick because we're running out of time here, is Isaiah Hartenstein to OKC, going to a true contender. Probably one of my favorite signings in this entire thing.
Yeah, I'll give that an A. I'll keep it short on that one. I'll give it an A.
Yeah, I give it an A as well. I think OKC has done a heck of a job in all season.
Yeah, A plus, man. They know what they're doing over there. But anyway, I think we done it again, fellas. Appreciate everybody that has shown us the love and support. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast, Opinionated Bench Warmers on YouTube, and search Opinionated Bench Warmers on your favorite platform. Make sure you subscribe there. Until next time, we're out of here.
Later.